you that St. Simon's down in Boulders. Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Hello and welcome back to the program, folks. Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 is Chris live in central Pennsylvania for your daily injection, your jab, your dose, your anti-vax for fake news and propaganda. Welcome back to the program. Hey, so how's folks doing out there? Lots to talk about, as always, in the news and stories breaking. And I also just published a video a short while ago, if it interests you. Apparently the government of Abiy Ahmed in Ethiopia has finished its genocidal campaign against Tigrayan civilians and military, and now it turns its attentions to declaring war on the diplomat community. A foolhardy action, to say the very least, given that Addis depends heavily on its thousands of diplomats pouring money into that community. This foolhardy green energy altar, ironically in a country full of Christians and once also full of Jews, but a country, people of deep faith. There's also Muslims there, but a country of deep faith known for its Christianity, its old Christianity, actually has a new faith of climate change. And so we'll talk about the Ethiopian war on diplomats here in just a little bit, but let me say hello to everybody in the chat before we get started here with the news and share another book I purchased on my recent trip to South Africa, which I'm looking forward to reading and have not gotten around to yet, but I will get to it very soon because I'm about to finish another book. So Misty's here. Debaram, hey George, welcome to you. Hester Kotza, as always. Allison Johnson's back. Gus, Congo Chris, Nand Seom Chris. Well, good evening to you as well. And Dylan Combrick, always here. Sue is back. No router problems today, thank goodness. James Bowie, Gus, Brian Lawrenson, Paulie, the brains behind the operation. Hey, if you're the brains behind the operation, let's get those concurrent viewers up to about 500 per stream. Get working on that, brains behind the operation. Lynette Orr, Clive Streak, Gerrit Gillich, na, alte Knabe, wie geht's? Was tust du eigentlich denn in Somerset West? Ja, das interessiert mich. Ich interessiere mich dafür. Was mag der heute? Bisschen Wein oder Bier? Oder gar nichts, überhaupt nichts. Vielleicht eine Cola. Yeah, Brian Lawrenson is here. Erica, good evening to you. Erica as well. Erica, our longtime moderator, who's dealt with a lot of tribulations in life. She's like a Timex watch. Erica takes a licking and she keeps on ticking. Gina Mullman's back. Welcome, Gina. How's it going? And then Ulrich Fenter, Val Cooper. Val, we're so happy to see her able to chat again. I really felt bad about that. Glad we fixed it. Diane Humpel. Diane, welcome to you. That's an interesting surname, Humpel. Richard Kuhn back again. Janet Lydian from South Carolina. And Marilyn Brokenshaw, our host extraordinaire. Well, folks, let's talk about some news, should we? Shall we? Hey, Jax is here, in from PE, place with lots of problems, folks. You see all the hundreds of people who rocked up to listen to talk to the police commissioner and make their complaints about the lack of police services in Port Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela Bay. And Monray Siebritz in from stormy Cape Town, as usual. Eddie Herzog, ja, herzlichen Glückwunsch, Eddie Herzog. Of course, if you know what Herzog means, that's nobility there. Anyway. Goulash. I like a good goulash soup. Hey, so I mentioned I'm books from my recent trip to South Africa. Of course, I collect books. House is full of it. Lots of kindling here if the house ever burns. Tons of books. But they burn slowly. This one is called Colored: How Classification Became Culture by Tessa Dooms and Lindsay Ebony Chudel. That's an interesting name, Lindsay Ebony Chudel. But this is a book for colored people, by colored people, a book of colored and colorful stories from varied corners of South Africa's vista, past, present, future. So what does it mean to be colored? Who are the colored people? Are they San or Khoi, Malay or mixed? Or where in South Africa do they fit in? And then the enduring but also insulting question, do colored people even have a culture? Well, of course they have a culture. There are multiple cultures. And anyone to claim anything else is just an insulting ass. In this book, Tessa Dooms and Lindsay Ebony Chudel challenge the notion that colored people do not have a distinct heritage or culture, that they are neither black nor white enough. Well, they're both, or whatever they want to identify as, and present a different angle to that narrative. They delve into the history of colored people as descendants of indigenous Africans and as a people whose identity has been shaped by colonization and slavery. and unpack the racial and political hierarchies these forces created. Well, that's unfortunate that they talk of them as descendants of indigenous Africans, because that's only part of their heritage. They're also descendants of people from Asia and people from Europe. And so focusing on indigenous Africans is a shame that they ignore the rest. Although this book examines difficult history, it's also about the culture that colored communities have created for themselves through food, music, and shared life experience. This culture is an act of defiance and resilience. Color is a reflection on, well, look, color culture is simply not simply an act of defiance. It's simply the nature of people interacting. Colors is a reflection on and celebration of colored identities as lived experiences. It is a call to colored communities to reclaim their identity and invitation to understand the history of colored people and their place in making South Africa. Well, the first place we should go is that people who are not colored should not falsely claim that they're colored. People like Trevor Noah, who is not colored. Trevor Noah is not colored. He's not an Orlam. He's not a Basta. He's not a Witboy. He's not a Nam. No, he's none of that. He's not a colored. He's not a colored. He is a mixed race individual. Coloreds in South Africa are historic origin, special group of people. Special group of people. So that's the book. I want to get around to reading that sometime soon. Okay? So, yeah. Those of you who know me know that I have special affinity for this group of communities. And I want to talk about them a lot. And promote their culture and language whenever possible. Still trying to get a few people on the program. All right, so, yeah. Trevor Noah is a half-caste. Well, that's a very derogatory term that comes from India that has not been used. But it's funny because I grew up thinking that was a derogatory term. And then I lived in Liberia, and it was commonplace for people to say half-caste. And it wasn't an insult, which I thought was weird. Of course, people in America say that the term colored is an insult. But of course, it's not. It never was an insult. It's just uninformed idiots. And it's actually a term of pride amongst certain people, a large group of people in South Africa. And here in America, we still have organizations like the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, not for the advancement of black people, but colored people. Yep. Michelle wants to know, how are things hanging? Oh, okay, I suppose. And Eric is saying hello to everybody she can type in there. James Bowie says it's raining in the garden route. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. All right, cool. All right, let's get to it. 70 people currently here, just 39 likes. Some of you being lazy. You're being so lazy. I'm going to call you out on that right now. You're being lazy.
That was easy.
Hendo, yes, it depends the context it's used in, but I've never used it in derogatory fashion, and to me, it's not a derogatory term. It's just like the Rehoboth Basters. The Rehoboth Basters, I mean, the word Basta is Dutch for bastard, illegitimate. But the Rehoboth Basters have taken that term and owned it and are proud of it. And they've gone from a group of just a couple thousand a century ago to over 35, 40,000 busters in Rehoboth today. Somebody's been busy knocking boots in the bedroom or out behind the barn, wherever people are doing it. But the Rehoboth busters, a fascinating group of people who were wise not to get themselves involved in the conflict between the Herero and the Germans, and then the Nama and the Germans. Yep. Anyway, there you go. Petra Meinberg is here, up from Fellow-Drift. Welcome to see you again. Let me just check on my solar production. It's been a little crappy the past several days because we've had some overcast, but yesterday the weather was so perfect. It's gorgeous weather out there. Today it's cool. It's like fall. It was 61 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday. Now it's 58 degrees today. What's going on? I mean, this is perfect weather. I should be out jogging if only I could. It should be an amazing lekker stream, lekker weather here. I don't think I know how it is there. Well, it's chilly here. So what's 58 degrees Fahrenheit? Somebody want to check on that for me real quick? Not so good. So a week ago, I was getting 41 kilowatts per day. And then I dropped 33, and then 18, 25, 31, 30, and just 7.66 so far today. We'll see how it goes the rest of the day. Hakan Eggman is in from the Netherlands. Good to see you again. You know, I have Dutch ancestry. Did you know that? That's right, Dutch ancestry. My ancestors were among the founders of New Amsterdam, which is today, of course, known as New York, having come over from Middelburg. Yep. And that family goes back to the northern part of the Netherlands in the Frisian area above the Zuider Zee. And if you go back in history, who they married into a family that came from Öland in Sweden. So quite a ways back. Freedom units got to love that 63 degrees is cold. Chris, I can see how that's Dutch. 63 degrees is not cold. It's heaven. It's actually only 58 today. I'm loving it. Let's see what the high's supposed to be. The high today, it says it's 68 now. Oh, that's perfect. 68 is perfect. People love 68. That must have been earlier temperature this morning. 68 degrees, 1% chance of rain, and the winds are 20 miles per hour. There you go. Pretty cool. Let me see the full forecast. Let me open it up here. Mostly sunny. The peak will be 70. Oh, it's already up 70 now. What's the peak going to be? 72 is the high. It's already 70 degrees. That's like heaven sent. Humidity is at 42%. That's not too low. That's not too high. Barometric pressure, 30.14 inches. Visibility, 9.9 miles. That's 16 kilometers, you can see. And the dew point is at 46 degrees. Wow. Winds 11 miles per hour from the northeast. Pretty cool. Pretty nice. You know, it feels like it's 70 degrees, but it feels like 73, according to the weather report. I always love how they say that, how it feels like. How do they know what it feels like? It's fascinating. Anyway, that's the weather. But you remember, when we were kids, man, weather was horrible. Today will be massive rainstorms, and it doesn't rain for 3 days. Now it's like there will be a tornado landing at 6:53 p.m. and 42 seconds at this location. And son of a gun, there's a tornado. It's almost as if they made it happen. It's crazy. Hey, Jeanette, welcome to you. I look Frisian. Okay, you can see that in me. Okay, well, thank you for that. But my heritage is Anglo-Saxon, Scandinavian, Celtic. There's a lot of that in me. So, yep. My mother's side has the Celt stuff. My father's side is all Anglo-Saxon, Scandinavian. And my mother's side has German and Swiss, German, Swiss. So, yeah, so all over the place. But white boy through and through. Yep. A little bit of Neanderthal, too. We were busy with Neanderthals at some point. Can you picture that? Hey, baby, how you doing over there? That's a big fella. Yeah, come here, Homo sapien. I am Neanderthal. Now, some people say that was violence. It was violence against women. Nope, it was just getting along. In a different era. Aaron says we might be related by heritage. Of course we might be related by heritage. I'm related to Cary Grant, a cousin. George Herbert Walker Bush, a distant cousin. And many, many other famous peoples. Yep. Goldilocks weather. Yeah, it is, Lynette. It's like perfect. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Actually, for me, I prefer the weather about 63 to 65, not 72. But hey, it's nice. My mom is a Brit. My dad descended from the 1850s German settlers and Boers. My wife is Boer and French Huguenot. Our daughter is married to a colored gent. We are South African. What? Your daughter's married to a colored gent? Oh, well, that's lovely. That's lovely. Now, the guy that's on, I always get a kick at him. There's this band in the 1980s called Quarter Flash, and it was big in the Midwest, and they had one song that was a top 40 song. And I remember they played at Kings Island, the theme park, and I was supposed to go there in high school, but I never went. But Quarter Flash, let me see what their song was. I forget the name of it now, but I can think of the sound. Q-U-A-R. And there's a reason I'm telling this story. Quarter Flash, a rock band. Let me see, what was that one song they had? Yeah. Come on. Quarter Flash. Yeah. From 1980, 85, and 1990 to 2019. They were signed by Geffen Records and Epic Records. From Portland, Oregon. That I didn't know. Okay, what was their one song? Harden My Heart. Gonna harden my heart. Yeah, I remember that song. Gonna show you. Yeah. Yeah, but they were terrible live. Anyway, Quarter Flash, the reason that comes to mind is because Crowder's program, he has the part of his team in the studio, and one of the dudes that's in there, I haven't seen this show in a long time, but the guy he calls himself quarter black. He's quarter black because he's got one grandparent that's black. So by DNA, that makes him roughly quarter black. So it's just funny how he said that. Because people look at people and go, well, you're white, you're black. You don't know what people are. I mean, this doesn't mean anything. This could be just recent. I know people just 2 generations removed who had white ancestors. You would never know they had white ancestors. And then their siblings, you could tell obviously they're part white. So it's quarter black. Oh, my goodness. I read a super interesting thing about people who speak multiple languages. The article is titled Why Immigrant Children Perform Better in British Schools. Very random fact. Okay, Michelle, that's an interesting story. But what about people who grow up in an environment with a single language but then become polyglots? People like moi. Als Kind habe ich nur Englisch gewusst, wir haben nur Englisch gesprochen. Also das war ehemaligen Zeit, das war also vor 45 plus Jahren. Und wir haben nur Englisch gehabt bei uns. Und später habe ich viele fremde Sprachen gelernt. Was sagt man dazu? Anyway, my grandmother Musk is Errol's sister. What? Are you serious? That's crazy. That's crazy. We can talk about my heritage. Well, we know all about Erica's heritage from Flemish origins, among others. Petra says I'm pink. Well, hey, take a number. So am I. Our daughter's married. Our granddaughter's totally gorgeous. That's awesome, and I'm not at all surprised, Richard. That's good to hear. That's awesome. How old is your granddaughter? I'm just curious. Anyway, you don't have to answer it. Arctic loves it when I speak foreign. Do you love when I speak the foreign language? Oh, it's so special. We love here speaking the foreign languages. It's so lovely. Lovely. So beautiful. You put the little paprika inside the goulash, and then you have a wonderful meal. Oh, freckles. Don't get me started on freckles, man. You should see my back. Woo, covered in freckles. Yeah. My mother told me when I was a kid, the reason, well, she wasn't the only one. Lots of people said the reason I had all those freckles is because I stood too close to the cow when they went poo. Splat. That was mean. It scarred me for life. I still can't get over it. The horror. The names. It wounded me. Ah, my goodness. All right, 98 people here are listening to this drivel. Let's get to some news. People tune in for news. All right, right out of the gate, it is the end of an era, ladies and gentlemen. Lifelong membership, near lifelong membership for the octogenarian Jacob Zuma is over in the African National Congress as he failed to file an appeal, and he is 8 months old. That's lovely. Congratulations, Richard. That's amazing. Amazing. That's awesome. Does she have blue or green eyes? Just curious. Don't have to answer. Yeah, it's a trait often found in colored folks and mixed race folks. Well, Jay-Z's out. He's no longer an ANC member. Good riddance. Yep, good riddance. The end of an era. Jacob Zuma is expelled, says the ANC, after he missed his appeal deadline. Former President Jacob Zuma is no longer a member of the party. He served for decades. This after he did not appeal his expulsion from the ANC within the 21 days afforded to him by ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula. Done and dusted. Yep, he's out. He's out. He's out. He's out. Arctic says, good luck. The terrible twos are an understatement and the reason that he drinks alcohol. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Arctic. Well, Alan says, screw the news. We want more fun. All right, let me take a poll. Let me take a poll. Who wants to hear the news? Let's do a poll. Let's see. I'm not saying I'm going to abide by the poll. Should we go to the news or Chris continue to entertain us? All right, there you go. I guess some people are just trying to forget the worries of the world and their challenges. By the way, I might notice it's something shorter today. I'm seeing a lot more neck here. Ooh, it's from my OnlyFans account. Ooh. Whoops, it was 100% news initially. Let's see what happens. Arctic says, we get the news on X. I know everything that Elon wants me to know. That's funny. Pedro, one night I dreamt I was blue and everyone stared at me. I'm so hot full of this race thing. I think it was why I dreamt that. That's a bizarre dream, to say the very least. Were you a Smurf? Pedro, were you a Smurf? Night owls was the bomb. News is depressing, says Arctic. First the news, then the pleasure. Screw the news. Let's just talk cock. By the way, I'm in touch with Ronaldo, in case some people are wondering. I reached out to Ronaldo. He's doing okay, because I usually get asked that question. It's Wednesdays without the Colonel, so I wrote to him and said, hey, how's your Wednesdays without the Colonel? He's okay. So so we now know that Petra is a Smurf. I had no idea. No idea. 39 votes. Ooh, the news crowd is winning, folks. Those who want to mess around are going to have to hang around for a bit. The news crowd is winning. My goodness. Let's see if we can get to 50 votes. We got 110 people here. Can we get 50 votes on this so it's a relatively good sample? Unlike the polls done by the polling agency in America. Kamala Harris is winning the election. Really? I haven't seen one Kamala Harris sign anywhere. There's Trump signs everywhere. According to Jacob's math, it's only 2 and 6 days now. Wednesdays with a colonel without the DA. Love it. Well, I'm not going to expropriate that name because we agreed to it together. So I like your view on current affairs. That's why I watch your channel. Well, thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Over on Megaphone, getting really lovely compliments from people about my rugby knowledge and my interest in the game. Thank all those people who've over there on rugby, on Megaphone Rugby, who are watching. There's a couple people criticizing things, but it's fascinating. One gentleman criticized my comments about Johan Gerbela. Of course, if he actually listened to my comments, I said his performance was abysmal in Perth, but he's an outstanding athlete. He's talented. He'll be recalled to the Springboks, and he's been a great player for the Bulls this season. But they chose to say I was talking cock about him. I wasn't talking cock. That's my analysis, and claimed I was biased. I'm not biased. That's just my view. Oh, the bias was against Fossey. Yeah, I was biased against Fossey. No, we miss Ronaldo. Yes, I am a Smurf. Got 50-50, 10 minutes news, entertainment. That's how I roll. My wife hasn't left yet. Your wife is there. Okay, where's my Druvos? Where is my Druvos, Arctic? I'm going to consign you to the back of the room there if I don't get my Druvos. The chat is going pear-shaped. It is, Pierre. It's all going sideways. Does anybody notice my you in the background? Anybody notice that? It's not a lemur. It's not a lemur. You find him in the Kalahari. You are just straight about the truth. Well, I try. Look, Robert, I am. And warts and all. We get things wrong. We say it. We're honest. That's why it pains some people so much. They're so angry. Oh, this person. And they try to sabotage things. Oh, a white supremacist, a Klan member. It is just comical how pathetic some hate wankers really are, and what great lengths they'll go to lie. Yesterday, let me see if I can find that before we get into the news here. Yesterday, I was fascinated by a comment that someone made about my video. Let's see. And people responded to it, but then I responded as well. Here it is. Well, there are two of them. This is the second one. I forget what the other one was. So let me talk about this one. There were two responses I wanted to talk about. The one was about the anthem. What were we talking about? Oh, I know what it was now. Let me go see. I think I can find that. So that one was about the anthem, and it was on the Juju video. So let me see. There's some hell for review? No, none are hell for review. Everybody's been okay. All right, where's that at? The guy probably deleted his email, his message. Let me see. Oh, here's one I didn't see. Crazy how white people often want to tell black people about their lived experiences. You think black people lived in better economical conditions? Remember that no person had better paying jobs, no better housing. Mostly lived in shacks, took a taxi, received medical attention, had only one tap in the whole community. Those taps are still there in my community. Blacks are not allowed to own cars. Most blacks ate leftovers of their masters. For the first 20 years of our democracy, ANC did their job, but for the last 10 years, they fumbled. I'm personally not an ANC voter, and I'll never say they're the cause of crumbling South Africa, but the main reason is landlessness. No, see, that's... So, this, I think, was in response to someone else's comment, not to my video. So, number one, that's just a bunch... It's Chia... Hang on a second. I don't want to misattribute this. This is from 7 hours ago, and the username is Chia Moma... Good Lord. Chia Moma Marela 6870. It's not crazy. Who's telling black people about their lived experience? And how condescending of you to say that on my video. I wasn't telling anybody about their lived experience. I was reporting on Julius Malema melting down. What does that have to do with the black person's lived experience? And all this drivel about every black person lived in a shack, none of them had water, they all were miserable. That's simply a lie, too. The majority The overwhelming majority were, but plenty of black people lived a good life. Herman Mashaba didn't live in a shack. Herman Mashaba didn't live off a single tap. Herman Mashaba wasn't banned from owning a car. That's bullshit. That's just lies. Get your facts straight. If you want to bring an argument, there's an argument to be made. There's an argument about apartheid to be made. But tell the truth. Don't lie. Don't mislead people. And that was one. There was another one here. I'm trying to find it now. See which one I responded to. Oh, here it is. The last part of South Africa's national anthem is a part of a song sung by apartheid Boers when they were killing blacks. Is it right to be forced to sing it? To which I responded, oh, the guy actually corrected. Okay, I will respond to him because they actually responded. I said false. The final verse of Nkosi Sikelel is in English. The penultimate verse is uit die blauw van onze hemel, out of the blue of our sky, uit die diepte van ons zee, from the depths of our sea, o ons ewige gebergtes, over our eternal mountains, waar die ganse antwoord gee. That's where the cliffs answer. I said, it's hardly a racist call to action, much more a beautiful show of respect to the country's landscape, unlike the kill the Boer, a racist screed exhorting people to murder innocent farmers. Afrikaans, South Africa's second most spoken first language, is primarily spoken by non-white South Africans. It's also an official language. Is it right to be forced to sing it? I said, no. Given your lack of intellectual depth, you probably can't even read the words, let alone sing them. Feel free to stay quiet while others, black, brown, and white, honor their nation. Now, that was a little harsh on my part. And depending on the person's response, I may apologize to them. Given your either ignorance of facts or willful lying, it's probably best you not come to an intelligent discourse empty-handed. Your race hustling BS is unwelcome here. Go back to the dark corner whence you emerged. Okay, so I know that this is what the gentleman said. He said, I meant the second last part. Thanks for correcting me. Okay. I know that Afrikaans part of South Africa's national anthem means, I know it speaks about the landscape, but it was part of the national anthem that was sang during apartheid. The people who wrote it at that time had no intention of sharing the land and enjoying the beauty with the rightful owners. Well, I will agree with that statement in part. Rightful owners? I don't think you do either. Because the rightful owners, if there is such a thing, is the Khoi and San people, and therefore the colored by extension since they're descended from them. So the Nguni-speaking peoples, the Europeans can futsek and get out. If there's such a thing as rightful owners here, okay? Land was lost through conquest, which is legitimate means of political discourse. So we're going to disagree on that one, but so far, a very nice response. And I think I'm going to have to offer an apology for the insult I made, but I took it as an insult to my post. It was sang with pride because they were acknowledging that they had stolen for themselves, sang with malicious intentions. I don't agree with that either. I think that there's maybe a segment of the people who sang with that enthusiasm, but the vast majority of people did not do it with that reason or for that purpose. That's simply just broad-based painting everybody. That's like saying black people are evil. That's bullshit. Black people are not evil. There are some evil black people. There's some evil white people, evil brown people, but that doesn't mean black people are evil. Regarding my intellect, I'm a third-year student majoring in pure physics and pure maths. What is pure physics and pure maths? Math and physics, I get. That should tell you something about my IQ. It's probably higher than yours. Okay, well, he's insulting me back. It doesn't mean your IQ is high. Plenty of people at university who aren't qualified to be there. I'm not saying he's not, but just because you're enrolled in a program at university doesn't mean you're smart. Anyway, the land was stolen for centuries. It's still not in the hands of my people. What land was stolen from you? You're going to be specific about this, brother. My great-grandmother's land is not on my family's hands. It was forcefully stolen with a gun in 1940. Okay, well, now we're talking about something specific. Okay. Why haven't you filed a claim between 1990? Well, you probably weren't old enough. 1995. You're just at university now. You weren't even alive in 1994, so you're born free, I'm guessing. Why didn't your parents file a land claim? The window was open from 1995 to 1999. 75,000 plus land claims were filed. 73,000 of those plus have been resolved since then. Now, of course, we know Jacob Zuma opened up an illegitimate, fraudulent window again years later, and 142,000 additional land claims came in. Most of them are duplicitous, duplicative, or dishonest. Only a handful of legitimate ones came in. Many of them are making claims against land that's already been settled by a third party coming in later on, claiming they owned it before someone else did. So, but thank you for that. That gets a starting point we can go to. Today, there's a platinum mine on top of it. We're not getting the fruits of what my grandmother had. I'm the son of two parents who lived their lives during apartheid. Okay, well, 2 points to that. Number one, stop voting for the ANC. The platinum mine, the land should be restored to your family since it was stolen, and you've got a record of that. and the ANC steals all the mineral rights in South Africa. So the land being stolen, that argument the gentleman's making is illegitimate. Now, you're a university student in your third year of pure physics and pure math, yet you can't make the connection. You're linking together things unrelated. The fact that you get nothing from the platinum that's in the mine has nothing to do with apartheid. Nothing. The ANC retains mineral rights to all minerals in South Africa. Landowners don't get that. That's bullshit. In America, if I own land and there's coal under it, or natural gas, or uranium, or garnet, or silver, that's mine. That belongs to me, unless I've sold the mineral rights to somebody. Not the government. They can tax the proceeds, but they don't own the minerals. I do. Not the government. But in South Africa, under the ANC owns that minerals. So it doesn't matter whether it was apartheid or land was stolen. Whoever the land owned doesn't get the money from it. Only the government does. So that's a disingenuous argument. You have a legitimate argument about your grandmother being dispossessed. Again, but you're not here to defend this argument. I'm asking why, and when I have time later on, I'll respond in the text on this, and I'll ask, why didn't your parents file a land claim? And if they did, what was the resolution? Platinum mine, plus the mix of the name here, leads me to believe that this person is part Tswana and lives somewhere in the Northwest. But the fruits of the mine, it doesn't matter whether you own the land or not. You wouldn't be getting it. You don't know the pain because nothing was done to your family. It's easy to type BS because you know nothing about suffering the effects of apartheid. Well, you have no idea of the suffering that I've gone through in my personal life. You have no idea of the struggle that I've overcome. You have no idea of the grinding poverty that I escaped and the things that I've achieved. So it's not BS. And I don't know anything about apartheid. You're quite frankly very wrong about that. You're very wrong about that. You didn't grow up under apartheid. So what pain do you know? It's what someone told you? What your parents related to you? That's secondhand. You didn't experience it. And you're going to university. So what's holding you back? How are you in university? Who's paying for that? Who made that possible? How is it you get to... No one put me through university. I had to put myself through university. Maybe you're doing the same. So, anyway, let's end this. People want the news. Anyway, that was a comment that came in from that gentleman. So I will apologize for the intellect insult, but then I'll also make the clear point that the person's still not making any sense. How can you make the argument that apartheid took my land and I don't get the fruits of the platinum? You don't own the platinum. The ANC does. It's silly. It's silly. And why is there a land claim filed? Did someone beat your family up and chase them away from the filing office and deny them the right? Maybe there was a land claim. I don't know. There are too many unknowns here. It's like serving the Harris-Biden administration. We have no idea what's going on because we don't have the information. Anyway, all right, back to some of the comments here. Is Ronaldo suffering withdrawal symptoms? I have no idea if he's suffering withdrawal symptoms. 10 minutes of news, 10 minutes of entertainment. My news feed states Comrade Camila's hubby got the maid knocked up and paid her to go. Really? That's interesting. Okay. My drill bush is still on the farm. We call her Daisy. Oh, my goodness. Ray gun. Oh, my gosh. Don't get me started on that. Let's do the kangaroo. Ray gun. What a lunatic. If you could vote between Dwarvois, biltong, or beef jerky, Chris. It used to be biltong, hands down. Now it's Dwarvois. Oh, my goodness. Charmaine found the balls. I don't even want to know where that came from. Mr. Bean's teddy below the meerkat. There is a meerkat there. That's correct. And that teddy is from the Rugby World Cup. That teddy was made for me down there. Okay. I eat leftovers from the master. Luckily, she's a decent cook. Thumbs up to the stream. Thank you for that. What else? Look by the on-air sign. Oh, no. That's been there forever. That's the bell and the basket from Botswana. Unford, he, boss. Come on. Many more people in Botswana speak Afrikaans than less Afrikaans speakers realize. Well, I know that, Richard. I'm well aware of that. I know a lot of people speak Afrikaans, and Afrikaners live in Botswana. Former Minister of Agriculture under Ian Khama was an Afrikaan farmer. Yep. 20-year degree in pure whiskey. That's right, to me. Anyone who's not Khoi or San or colored is an SA settler. Yep. All right, what else we got here? I closed the poll. I drink myself to steady my equilibrium. The government owns all mineral rights below a certain depth, which I don't know. All mine mineral rights belong to all people of the country. Mine gets certain profits right after taxes. Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't go to the landowner. Debson says, how can a government be legal if their institution is bankrupt? It's an actual line of legality, just asking. No, a government is legal if a polity selects a government to represent it. It doesn't matter whether it's a going venture, it makes money or not. That really isn't germane. Showed the ray gun clip to my 9-month-old grandson. He watched it 20 times. Yeah, where's Okano tonight? Okay, I don't see Okano tonight. Anyway, all right, time for a little more news. We did some news. Let's get back to the news. No, actually, I want to read that one more comment. Okay, so this one here, it's this one I was a little nasty on too. It's from Barity Fund Sale, 3210. You have more than 1,000 bases or posts all over the world. For what are you scared, or do you want to control the world? Look what you've done in Libya. It's about a Procus force for U.S. and oil. Don't know what that's supposed to be. Proxy. That's what it is. Proxy force for U.S. and oil. So next time you comment, you might consider actually including a fact or two, not wild fairy tales. The USA does not have 1,000 bases all over the world. We have bases across some NATO countries, in South Korea, which remains in a state of war since North Korea's invasion in 1950, Japan, one in Northern Australia, one in Djibouti, and we leased Diego Garcia. That's hardly more than 1,000 bases. Libya? Get serious. Your first point of order here should be honestly telling the truth. The ANC demanded NATO intervention. The AU begged NATO to intervene. It's only poorly informed and dishonest people who tell the fairy tale that mighty America attacked innocent Libya. You all too conveniently neglect to mention that Gaddafi was murdering civilians and the world demanded someone intervene. The inept state of the Sandef made the ANC beggars, not doers. Removing Gaddafi was not exactly in U.S. strategic interest. Ever since Hussein was toppled, Gaddafi was the most valuable source of intelligence for dismantling terrorist networks around the globe. From 2003 onward, Muammar Gaddafi was working with the United States. He was one of our best friends. Toppling him was not in our strategic interest. 2, stop the leftist and ultra-right-wing nutjob narrative that it's all about oil. The USA imports no oil from Libya. We are the world's largest oil producer and a major exporter of that oil and our natural gas as well. Europeans, Japan, and mostly China need that oil, not the U.S. Geopolitically, it is true the world relies on safe, affordable, and reliable energy, but making such an empty, out-of-context claim is not contributing to an intellectual analysis of events. And that's one I responded to there. Cabello's back. How's it going, buddy? United States maintains 800 military bases in more than 70 countries. That's not true, George. That's simply not true. That's not true. Where do you get this from? Stop picking Iacano just because he's not here. That's not fair. Is Chris Haylers here? I saw somebody say Chris Haylers. Welcome, Chris. Haven't seen Chris for a couple days. Chris has been active in the groups, but not here. So maybe just in the background being silent. Yeah. Anyway, no, Baron, George, we do not have 800 military bases. We do not. Name the 70 countries where we have bases. See, what happens is that people falsely attribute the presence of an attaché, an embassy, as a base. People falsely attribute an agreement, a mutual defense agreement, as a base. For instance, we have no base in Uganda. We do have a building there on the military base that we're permitted to use to store things. That's not our base. We don't control it. We control access to it. We have to get permission to go there. We have locks on the building and on the gate, but that's because they've allowed us to use it. That's a cooperative security arrangement. That's what that is. That's not a base. The only base we have in Africa is in Djibouti. And the base in Niger was never ours. And the proof of that is the fact we're not there. We spent $150 million building a base for Niger, and we held on to it and managed it and ran it because they couldn't afford the $15 million a year in maintenance to keep the place up. It will soon become overrun by sand and be part of the Sahel in a matter of months, if not a couple of years, because Niger can't maintain it. And so it's gone. It was a waste of money and resources. There's no base in Africa except in Djibouti. In Europe, we have bases in Spain, consequence of the Second World War. In Italy, consequence of the Second World War. We used to have bases in Greece. They're gone. We have bases in Turkey. We have bases in Germany. In the United Kingdom, we used to have bases in the Netherlands. They're gone. We used to have bases in France. They're gone. We used to have bases in Norway. They're gone. We don't have bases in any of those countries. None. No base in Denmark. We have access to Polish bases in Poland as a consequence of recent agreements, but we don't own bases there. Yep, we don't own bases there. I don't know why Verdi Foncel sounds familiar. Yeah, Chris, I figured you're in the background. That's cool. Good to see you there. We meet some military bases here that are represented as the population. I don't understand what that statement means. We don't have these military bases people are claiming we have. It's fiction. There is a leftist hate wanker who runs stories all the time, Nick Terse here in the United States, and he's always making these claims. Let me look this clown up. He's actually well known, and he's full of shit. Nick Terse, American journalist and historian. He's neither. He's a fraud. The stuff he comes up with is absolutely ridiculous. He's at The Intercept, contributing writer for The Intercept. 49 years of age. Went to Columbia, Rutgers. Well, there you go. No wonder. He's actually gotten prizes. Wow, he's won... let's see what he's written. He's author of The Next Time They'll Come to Count the Dead, War and Survival in South Sudan, Tomorrow's Battlefield, U.S. Proxy Wars and Secret Ops in Africa, Kill Anything That Moves, The Real American War in Vietnam. Yeah, he's written for the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, San Francisco Chronicle, The Nation, The Village Voice. It tells you everything you need to know right there. Yep, let's see. U.S. has dozens of secret bases across the Middle East. They keep getting attacked. U.S. has never apologized to Somali drone victims, even when it admitted to killing civilians. The African country that kicked out the U.S. Did the Pentagon lie about it? What else he's got here? Biden says he told Nigeria to kill fewer civilians, but Nigeria keeps killing lots of civilians. What else? U.S. trained Burkina Faso military execute turned 20. No. Oh, my goodness. This guy just hates America. He just hates America. Nick Terse. I've seen this. He's put a map out, and he put all these places that they're not even bases. It's just comical. I'm consistently told that America has a base in Botswana. That's a lie. What they're talking about is Tebe Patswa. Tebe Patswa is a Botswana air base owned entirely and operated entirely by the BDF. There are no Americans present there. There are troops there. We don't even have an agreement to use it. We have had troops arrive there for bilateral military exchanges. I have photographs of it. And it continues to this day. We participate in exercises that Botswana has run and that SADC has run. And that base has been used. But it's not our base. We can't just go there. It's comical what people think. There may be 1% of military personnel that are white. You're talking about in South Africa. In the infantry, 85% of the personnel are white in the U.S. military. In the U.S. military, 65% of the military is white. Africa's too quick to bitch about suffering and colonialism. Good excuse not to pull their finger out of their noses and start to do something. Agreed. Krokotopia, 100%. 100%. Several businesses are closed in Mtata. Why is that? By the way, Krokotopia, the carnage and horrific things have been done in Europe to Europeans by Asians, by Turks, by Arabs, by Europeans over the past 2 millennia is gobsmacking. What happened in Africa pales in comparison to what happened to Europeans. But we don't remember that. Let's just forget about that. Let's just forget about that. That doesn't matter. Let's forget about the enslavement of Europeans by the Golden Horde. Yeah, the Timurids. Yeah, let's just that just doesn't matter. That's inconvenient. The Turks and what they did to Europeans. Yeah, and the Arabs when they invaded Spain and occupied Spain for hundreds of years, forcing Christians to become Muslims and raping their women and stealing their property. And that never happened. It's white people, so it doesn't count. Yes, the ANC won majority in the Eastern Cape and in Mpumalanga and in Northwest, and these places are terribly managed. Crooks was shot to stop him talking more about Trump's protection. What would Crooks know about Trump's protection? I don't understand that to me. What would he possibly know? What would Crooks possibly know? That creepy-looking dude doesn't know anything. He's about as bright as a 2-watt light bulb. George, please, I'm curious about the base thing. Where are you getting that from? Was you just throwing it out there so I'd have something to talk about? All right, the fired members of the MK party are seeking court interdiction to get their jobs in Parliament back. 10 of the 18 dismissed members of MK Party have approached the Western Cape Division of the High Court seeking to reverse their recent expulsions from Parliament. The group claims their removal was orchestrated to create vacancies for prominent members of EFF, including Floyd Shivambu. Well, what does the court role have to do with that? I don't know, unless there's a violation of law. Action SA has themselves a key spot. The new Johannesburg speaker is Nobule Mtembu. Action SA's Nobule Mtembu is now the speaker. She replaces Margaret Arnolds, who lost the seat on Friday in a tearful departure. Margaret Arnolds was dumped despite the fact that she's perfectly capable of doing the job. Horrific way politics goes. Well, Airlink has sold 1/4 of its stake to Qatar Airways. 25% strategic equity stake in the South African regional airline. As I mentioned yesterday, Airlink has 64 aircraft. That's impressive. 50 destinations on 74 routes, and it flies 248 times a day. It's actually pretty impressive. That's, some things in South Africa work. Private enterprise, not government, not SAA. Wow. And Ndlozi is not leaving the EFF. That's what the EFF says. He's going nowhere amid rumors of his exit. Yes. This days after EFF President Malema suggested Ndlozi might follow in the footsteps of his former close friend and Deputy President Floyd Shivambu. Well, rubbish. Sources, Commissar Dr. Ndlozi is not resigned. Dr. Ndlozi. Doctor of what? Bullshit. Dr. Ndlozi? This guy's a doctor? I'm going to start calling myself a doctor. Two different where David Vine has been the source. I don't know who David Vine is. Let me see who David Vine is. Let's look up David Vine. And again, what people describe as basis is comical. David Vine, author, okay? I don't know him. Anthropology. He's a professor of anthropology, and he's telling you about military bases. Okay. City College, University of New York graduate. Okay. Anthropology. Another leftist. I'm the author of The United States of War, A Global History of America's Endless Conflicts, from Columbus to the Islamic State. Columbus wasn't in America, dipshit. Columbus was not in America. Columbus was Italian, sailing for Spain, centuries before America existed. My goodness. United States of War is the finalist for the LA Times Book Prize. Okay. Prior books and trilogy are The Island Chain, The Secret History of the U.S. Military Base in Diego Garcia. We have a base there. And Base Nation, how U.S. military bases abroad harm the world. That must be the one you're talking about, Base Nation. My work focuses on issues including inequality, social movements, forced displacement, refugees, U.S. military bases abroad, race, ethnicity, gender, class, sexuality, and nationalism. Okay. All right. Well, you already can see the source. All right. Let's look up his book. Base Nation, official book. He's got his own website. Boy, these people just make shit up. How U.S. military bases around the world harm. Let's see. Army University Press. What the hell is the Army University Press? The U.S. Army publishes this crap? American military bases encircled the globe more than 2 decades after the end of the Cold War. U.S. stations its troops at nearly 1,000 locations in foreign lands. Oh, my goodness. All right, $25 for this book. Base Nation. Definitive, says Jake Novak of CNBC. Eloquent and persuasive. All right. From Italy to the Indian Ocean, from Japan to Honduras. We have no bases in Honduras. That's a lie. Far-reaching story of the perils of U.S. military base overseas. American military encircles the globe. He demonstrates overseas base relationship, but he's not listing the bases. Where are these bases at? What bases? Okay. It's the same. Everything here is the same summary. Same bullshit summary. Base Nation. Can I find somebody that actually tells me something about it? Oh, here's an actual book review. Oh, it's not a review. It's too, well, I'm trying to see where they actually list these bases. Here we go. Vine's most provocative chapter deals with cultural moral damage that overseas basing does to Americans and our host. He lists 18 instances where indigenous populations are forcibly removed from sites without compensation of any kind in order to make room for new or expand U.S. bases. Displaced people from Diego Garcia still struggle. Well, they were displaced not because of us. They were already removed and when the base was put together. Overseas bases create a mindset of imperialism and impunity to local and U.S. law. That's bullshit. I've seen many service members prosecuted for crimes abroad. The military reserves the right to release them, but they have. They've released Marines for prosecution of rape. They've released Americans in the UK and in Germany for alcohol, driving and influence and harming people. He gives numerous examples of military personnel feeling free to do what we want to do here in Guam, Okinawa, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, Panama, Greenland, Diego Garcia, destroying archaeological, historical, environmental, and cultural sites while dismissing the locals. Well, this is fucking bullshit. I've served in Italy, Germany, Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Nigeria, Mauritania, Uganda, Ethiopia, and never once acted with impunity or disrespect for local things. In fact, when I was in Tunisia, you can just walk up to these archaeological sites that were Byzantine, that were Roman, and the coins are there, the artifacts are there, and there's people running around picking them up trying to sell them to you, but that's stealing patrimony, and I refused to do it. Like, you could have had a whole collection of Byzantine and Roman coins for a song. I could have paid like $2 for stuff that was worth hundreds of dollars, if not thousands. And I left it there. Didn't touch it. This guy's an ass. He's an ass. You take an isolated occasional incident. Human interaction leads to stupidity like that, regardless. But this dickweed is implying that that's how the American military behaves. He can fuck off. That's bullshit. Well, thanks for bringing him to my attention. I'll do a little research on him. Of course there's a map in an Al Jazeera article. Do you have the link to it, George? Of course there's. I've seen the map from Nick Terse. I've seen the map. It's bullshit. Show me these bases. They don't exist. This is the fantasy. Diego Garcia, yes. South Korea, yes. Philippines, no. We have no bases in the Philippines. We abandoned Clark and Subic Bay after Mount Pinatubo blew up. Decades of bases there. We just left. The Philippines want us to come back. We're not there. We have no bases in Vietnam. Haven't been there since 1975. Haven't been to the Philippines since the 1990s. We weren't even in Australia since the Second World War, but now the Australians invite us back. We have a base near Darwin in the north. Actually, that's actually our base. Bases in Honduras. What a crock of shit. We don't have bases in Canada, even though we share the North American Air Defense Network, even though it's a shared joint command with Canadian officer who's the deputy of that command, but it's based in Colorado, nowhere in Canada. No, George, don't be sorry for sharing. It's great that you bring it up. It's nice to refute this garbage. I mean, it's utter nonsense. And he's like, well, it costs $100 billion a year for these bases. That is a wild overstatement. The vast majority, the bulk, not the vast majority, the bulk of our expensive bases is borne in America. For instance, in Germany, we don't bear the cost of much of the running the bases. The German government pays for much of that. He doesn't even know that, or he doesn't even bother to address that. We had, in Germany, hundreds of caserns. They don't exist anymore. And none of them were bases. The only bases we had in Germany were at Spangdahlem Air Base, and we had Rhein-Main, and we had Ramstein. Those were bases. Those were physical properties that were fenced off, that belonged to the Americans, that weren't appropriated from the Nazi Party that we built. That's it. That's it. Bad Kreuznach Barracks was not a base. It sat inside a community. Anyway, if he wants to call it a base, that's fine. But it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. Gone. Stuttgart, there was a phrase, bigger than Stuttgart, back when I was a young soldier. And the reason they said bigger than Stuttgart is because there were 30,000 American troops stationed in and around Stuttgart, in Stuttgart itself and all the little Dörfer around Stuttgart. But that's not the case anymore. Now we have Stuttgart-Vaihingen, which is where the European Command is. We have, what's the name of, where AFRICOM is at. They're on the other side of Stuttgart. And tiny little installations, and then you have Wolfgang, which is where the PX is at, and services. That's it. It's silly. No, it's okay, George. Thanks for bringing it up. That guy's an idiot. Ulrich was in a caravan in Nullsprit. Well, that's interesting. No, George, I mean, that's why I'm not attacking George. It doesn't bother you. Yeah. All right, so don't accept this ban Israel billboard, says advertisers. Now, this is interesting here, and this is important. So, controversial billboard slammed for not carrying the identity of the advertiser. Yep. Despite not having the power to ban a controversial advertising billboard and the Olympics have passed, the Advertising Regulatory Board has called on the industry not to display the ban Israel from Olympics billboards on grounds that the advertiser is not clearly identified. And in fact, that's true. You must identify the advertiser. You must identify the company that's posting this. They received a consumer complaint against the billboard found to have been published by human rights organizations, hashtag Africa for Palestine, though this is not declared on the advert. The complainant has offended by billboards it had posted as part of a worldwide campaign to kick Israel out of international sport. Yep. Calls for a ban on a sovereign country because they are mainly Jewish and they're fighting back in a war thrust upon them. It's hate speech, it incites violence, and it's despicable. In fact, that's a fair question. Where is the South African Human Rights Commission about these billboards? Where is the captured South African Human Rights Commission when these anti-Semitic, Jew-hating billboards are posted without attributing them to the person that advertises? You must put that. That's required by South African law. But where is the South African Human Rights Commission? Silence. Not a surprise at all. Not a surprise at all. Their main focus, not sole focus, their main focus is to persecute white South Africans. That's their real job. That's what they spend all their energy on, not dealing with hate crimes or real issues. I'm in charge. Well, that sounds a lot like Cap Weinberger. John Steenhuisen leaves no room for doubting who's the boss. You the boss. Who the boss? John Steenhuisen the boss. Yeah. Hey, it's Fat Albert. Yeah, I'm the boss. You the boss. Yeah. DA leader John Steenhuisen has quashed any ambiguity about who is running the show. Nearly 2 months into his new role as Minister of Agriculture, he's thrown himself into the work, taking somewhat of a step back from party politics. In the meantime, DA Federal Chairperson Ellen Zille has been dominating the headlines, with ANC Secretary General and Fikile having a lover's quarrel, and his deputy Novumba Moyonkanye referring to Zille as the leader of the DA on numerous occasions. Steenhuisen said, I think it's very obvious who's in charge, the person who led the party into the GNU, and that's me. I led the DA, and I lead it with an 82% mandate from the Congress. Indeed. John Steenhuisen is the boss. Who's the boss? You the boss. The African Penguin lawsuit, folks. Yep. I actually know these organizations. They have sued the former Minister of Environment. That would be Barbara Creasy, the communist ANC member. Barbara Creasy, the lone white gal in the ANC cabinet. They sued her for inaction. That's right. A settlement could be on the horizon for the African Penguin lawsuit launched by local conservation bodies against the Environment, Forestry, and Fisheries Minister for the minister's failure to impeach biologically meaningful fishery closures around key African penguin breeding grounds. The problem, of course, is that people have been fishing where their sources of food are, and the penguins are not getting enough food. So they're suffering from malnutrition and dying off. So let's be clear. The minister that they sued was Barbara Creasy and not the current minister, Leon Schreiber, from the Democratic Alliance. Yes, in March of 2024, so that's before the Government National Unity, the BirdLife South Africa, BLSA, and the Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds, SANCOB, those are the guys that run these sites, represented by the Biodiversity Law Center, sought to review and set aside previous Minister Barbara Creasy's decision to implement biologically meaningless closures to fishing around key African penguin breeding colonies. According to the applicants, these closures failed to reduce competition with commercial purse seine fishing, enabling them to infringe on African penguin prey, and did not correspond with the penguins' core foraging areas. New Environment, Forestry, and Fisheries Minister Dion George, has instructed department lawyers to settle the matter and secure the penguins' fish diet in an out-of-court settlement. So no action since March as the penguins starve and die. And finally, the DA minister steps in, and once again, the DA outperforms the rest of the cabinet. Quick, name an ANC minister. Quick, somebody name a minister. Stop hating. Stop the hate. Anyway, yeah. So there you go. Lifeline for African penguins. What's good for the penguin is good for South Africa's wildlife and tourism. Minister of Forestry, Fisheries, and Environment, the DA's Dr. Dion George, is securing African penguins' primary food source by settling the dispute around fishing rights versus penguin protection. 100%. There you go. So saving the penguins. Cool beans. Well, John Steenhuisen is also in the news saying that agricultural land is at risk from property and mining. But again, back to the mining thing. Mining is controlled by the government of South Africa. They're the ones that give the mining rights. They're the ones that grant the licenses for it. They retain all of the wealth from it. So if land is under threat from mining, it's under threat from the government of South Africa, not from private sector, from the government of South Africa. Now, I appreciate John Steenhuisen mentioning this, that agricultural land is precious and finite in South Africa. And that's a fair point, given that only 13% of the country is actually arable for crop rotation. However, I'm much more interested when it comes to agriculture in what is happening when it comes to rural insecurity and farm murders than I am about mining rights, which South Africans have no control over. It's all run by the corrupt government. Now, another minister outperforming, I'm not including John Steenhuisen as outperforming because we haven't heard much from him other than I'm in charge. We have heard from Deon George. We have heard from Leon Schreiber. We have heard from DA ministers outperforming their cohorts in the Government of National Unity. Well, here's another minister who frequently is outperforming his cohort, and that is, of course, the Patriotic Alliance's Gate McKenzie, who finally says something that is completely not nonsensical. It makes sense entirely. I find myself agreeing with Gate McKenzie on this one. We see our system, for most of it, producing many black bowlers of talent but few battlers. He focuses on equality of access. What have I been saying since the birth of my broadcast on this platform? I've been saying, when it comes to rugby, the reason why there aren't more, now the team is half black, so that wasn't the case before, but the reason there aren't more black South Africans playing for the Springboks is not because of racism. It's not because of exclusion. It's because it's a sport that requires specialized equipment, specialized locations. Soccer, you just roll a bunch of tape and a ball, you go out in the dust, you're kicking around, kids kicking. It doesn't require any special skills, or equipment, I should say. But rugby does, much like badminton. You can't play badminton without the nets. You can't play sports without the requisite equipment. And you also have to have a culture of playing the sport. Black communities in South Africa, either because of no interest or exclusion, or both, primarily were not places where rugby was played. Young black kids don't play rugby, they play soccer. Just like young black kids don't become Olympic swimmers. White kids do by and large, or colors, because they have access to it. There aren't many black South African ice hockey players. There are ice hockey players, but not many black. Why? Because it's not something they grow up with. It costs a lot of money to have skates and pads and ice time and transport to and from it. That takes resources. It also has to be a cultural thing. We have ice hockey all over the country now. We have teams in Phoenix. We have teams in Florida. We have teams in Carolina. We have teams in Los Angeles playing ice hockey. In Los Angeles, in the desert. In Las Vegas, we have ice hockey. But kids aren't growing up there playing ice hockey. Most of our hockey players come from the Northeast or the Plain States or Michigan or Wisconsin, Minnesota, or they come from Canada because that's the culture. And Gate McKenzie's onto something here, something I've been saying for years, but he's famous and I'm not. The reason why you don't have more black athletes is because these things are not focused on by these organizations. These sporting bodies don't focus on expanding the game at the grassroots level. McKenzie shared his views in ongoing debate in Parliament, answering a question posed by EFF MP Mohale last week about his plans to address the slow pace of transformation of rugby, cricket, and other sporting codes, which do not reflect South Africa's demographic representation. In fact, that's a bullshit, horseshit, freaking lie. They do represent South Africa's demographic representation. Demographically, blacks don't play rugby. Demographically, blacks don't play ice hockey or do Olympic swimming or equestrian events. Not because someone's keeping them out, because it's not cultural norm and there isn't resources for it. Where is the demographic representation of white men in Bafana Bafana? It's non-existent. This is bullshit race hustling. If a team in South Africa that's cricketers is entirely Indian and the best players are all Indian, no blacks, no whites, no colors are good enough to make it, then that's how it should be. If the Olympic swimming team is only white women because they're the only ones who make the times, then that's who it should be. If the equestrian event is done exclusively by the Vit boys, the Dama, because of their equestrian skills, then that's who it should be. It doesn't matter if a team is one black, one white, one gay, one straight, one trans. That's horseshit. The best should be there. The only role the government should play is to ensuring that there's a level playing field, which is what Gate McKenzie is getting at. This MP is an idiot, but he's from the EFF, hardly surprised. Gate McKenzie said his focus was on equality of access to pave the way for people from different backgrounds to qualify to play in national teams. There's been an overemphasis over the years focusing on what I might call equality of outcome when it comes to transformation in sport, meaning our society tends to look at the demographic profile of people who succeed in the upper and professional levels of sport, but then it's already too late. What matters more is equality of access, which means young people being able to participate and train in sports from an early age. Many professional tennis players, for example, started at the age of 5. The game becomes second nature to such players. Bingo. I didn't start playing baseball until I was like 10 or 11. That's too late. Should have been playing 6 or 7. Then I would have had the skills. I didn't start playing basketball until I was a teenager. That was too late. I started playing tennis as a teenager. I could never become professional, but I was very good in high school. Yeah. Kate McKenzie's onto something. The MK party has no constitution, according to Axe MPs. Well, it has no constitution. It has no structures. It is vaporware. It's a vanity project for Jacob Zuma. Look at that. Look at that face, man. A face you can't help but love. This week, irate MPs were denied access to the parliamentary village until their lawyers intervened, according to court documents. Expecting each to be paid $102,000 after their firing, they allegedly received only $12,000. So it's all about the money. It's all about the money, folks. That's what it's all about. That's why people want these jobs. That's why they want these jobs. Now, see, that's the difference. I ran for office not for money. I don't want the paycheck. That's not why I ran. I ran to make a difference, and to serve the people and get this country back on the right track, the state on the right track. He repeatedly hit me with a brick. So the ANC is so concerned about gender-based violence. How does anyone do this to another human being? This is sick. Who raises these brutes? The assault allegedly stemmed from her not answering her phone when her boyfriend called. In a heartbreaking moment, a woman from Cape Town has gone viral after posting before and after photos of a violent attack allegedly by her boyfriend. Look at this. The images contrast her initial appearance with her hair neatly styled in braids with the devastating bruises and hair loss she endured during the assault. The 26-year-old said she had been visiting a friend at Nyanga Crossroads, planning to stay the night. However, at about 1 a.m., her 36-year-old boyfriend arrived to fetch her. What should have been a simple walk home turned into a nightmare. He came to fetch me, telling me I should go with him. When I was walking out, he started beating me and dragged me by pulling my hair. The violence then escalated. He repeatedly hit me with a rock on the head and face. I have scars that look like I was stabbed, but it's because he hit me with a rock several times without stopping. He pulled my hair whenever I fell down. Despite managing to escape and running back to her friend's house crying for help, her attacker did not stop. Community members came to help me, but he didn't care. He continued to even insult and wanted to beat up the residents who were stopping him, hitting me. The assault stemmed from her not answering her phone promptly, which led to his fury. Shortly after being attacked, she went to the police station to open a case. He's not been arrested. The police have been looking for him. She said, I posted pictures. I want to expose him. I feel hurt, confused, and have a lot of questions about what happened to him. I do not want him to hurt another woman. Well, this is a violent brute. Who raises people like this? Who raises men to have so little value for their partners, for other human beings? It's sick. Sick. Chris, okay, that's enough, Chris Ayler. Stop it. You don't like being bullied, and what you're saying is bullying. Knock it off. Cape Town office space is at a premium, folks. Wow. Well, meanwhile, in Gauteng, office space is cheap as people flee to the Western Cape. The rest of the country is facing a glut of empty buildings. Office take-up in the mother city has rocketed to 15-year highs. If you're doubting the extent to which Cape Town continues to challenge Joburg's dominance as the country's economic hub, look no further than the outperformance of the mother city's commercial property market. In the 2 years to June, Cape Town's office vacancy rate has more than halved, from close to 14 to just 6.3%. In some nodes, notably the VA waterfront, the city center, and Century City, there's little, if any, top-end office space available to rent. And what you can rent comes in at extreme premium. Well, turning our attention to the warm heart of Africa, Malawi, Malawi's former president, Mutharika, who's 84, is going to challenge Lazarus Chakwera in the elections. Peter Mutharika, the brother of the president who died in office, and a man who tried to undermine the Constitution. This criminal should never serve in office again. Peter Mutharika is a criminal who sought to misuse the Malawian Defense Force to override the Constitution, to keep Joyce Banda from becoming the president. This person has no business in office. He's 84. Go sit on a mountain, sip your tea, and silently slip away. You violated the Constitution. You have no business in office. Peter Mutharika. Unbelievable. The arrogance of some people. Well, Ethiopia is banning internal combustion engine motor vehicles for diplomats. Where did they get off doing this? The Ethiopian government has banned all diplomatic missions and international organizations from importing petrol and diesel-powered cars. In a statement on Monday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the move was part of Ethiopia's broader strategy to transition towards clean energy and promote the environmental sustainability. The ministry wishes to inform all diplomatic consular missions, regional and international organizations in Addis Ababa that in light of the pressing challenges posed by climate change and Ethiopia's commitment to contribute to emission reduction and transition to renewable energy, the importation of vehicles using fuels, petrol and diesel for internal combustion engines is prohibited. All those with diplomatic privilege are required to continue importing only electric vehicles as per the direction enforced for duty-free importation of vehicles. And who the hell do they think they are? Seriously, who do they think they are? And seriously? Climate change? What about the deforestation? Ethiopia is the world's third largest producer of charcoal. Did you know that, folks? Unbelievable. The amount of charcoal produced by Ethiopia is shocking. 4.4 million tons of charcoal per year. Per year! As the hillsides and forests of Ethiopia are denuded because people have no access to electricity or energy of any sort, a country where 44% of the population, 53 million people, have no access to electricity. And they're telling the diplomatic community that they cannot bring in petrol-powered cars. Do they realize that most people that work in the diplomatic community don't make much money? Diplomats from Sri Lanka, from Burundi, Benin, Honduras. Well, Honduras isn't there, but Cuba. They don't have money to buy electric cars. I was a colonel working in the embassy in Addis Ababa. I didn't have money. Thank goodness I'm not stationed there now. What a bunch of asswipes. Who do they think they are? Well, the United States has agreed to sell $3.5 billion helicopters to South Korea. Wow. There's the AH-64 attack helicopter, the Apache. State Department has approved the sale of 36 AH-64 Echo model attack helicopters in a deal worth at least $3.5 billion. The Defense Security Cooperation Agency, someone I used to work for, said South Korea would also get up to 76 Apache helicopter engines and spare parts, fire control radar systems, night vision sensors, and other support equipment. The sale will also provide the Asian ally with up to 450 Hellfire missiles and more than 150 joint air-to-ground missiles. Wow. This will dramatically improve South Korea's capability to defend itself against the communist invasion from the north. Well, Australia has greenlit a $19 billion solar project for Singapore. Yep, $19 billion. This is interesting. Yep, Australia Asia Power Link is slated to provide 15% of the city-state's energy needs once it's completed. 6 gigawatts of renewable energy for $19 billion. Really? That's insane. Sun Cable, owned by billionaire software entrepreneur and climate activist Mike Cannon-Brooks, said the project will supply 15% of Singapore's energy needs once it's completed in the early 2030s. Australia Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek said Wednesday that the 12,000-hectare or 29,650-acre farm in the remote Northern Territory would create 14,000 jobs and transform Australia into a renewable energy superpower. 14,000 jobs. That's a woman full of shit. 14,300 jobs. Maybe 1,400 jobs. Maybe 400 jobs. 14,000. Give me a break. Give me a break. What a crock. 14,000. People buy this stuff. Ukraine, after 2.5 years of conflict, has ratified the Rome Statute. Wow. They're joining the International Criminal Court. Ukraine's parliament voted today to ratify the Rome Statute, officials said, allowing the country to join the International Criminal Court in a step Ukrainian leaders have cast as central to Kiev's European aspirations. It would allow authorities to more effectively punish suspected Russian war criminals amid Moscow's war in Ukraine. Except it doesn't. Russia's not a signatory. Therefore, it doesn't apply. Now, they can try to assert sovereignty by claiming that Russian nationals on Ukrainian soil can be prosecuted, but that's flimsy ground in and of itself. At least 3 people killed at a Bosnian school shooting. Another mass shooting. Suspect who was a school employee opened fire with an automatic rifle and tried to kill himself. At least 3 staff members have been killed in a shooting at a school in the northwest of Bosnia-Herzegovina in Sanski Most High School. The shooting took place at 10:15 in the morning. It's located approximately 125 miles northwest of Sarajevo in the Bihać pocket. Schools in Bosnia were closed for the summer holiday, which means no classes were being held at the time. He used a military firearm and automatic rifle to kill 3 school employees and tried to kill himself. He was taken in serious condition to the Banja Luka hospital. He allegedly had a dispute with the school management. Mass shooting. Not in America. Joe Biden approved plans to move America on a nuclear footing, secret plans, and this is being disclosed by this corrupt administration. This is not something you should tell anybody. In a classified document approved in March, why is this in the New York Times? The president ordered U.S. forces to prepare for possible coordinated nuclear confrontations with Russia, China, and North Korea. Did he even know what he was signing? White House never announced that Mr. Biden approved the revised strategy called the Nuclear Employment Guidance, which also seeks to prepare the United States for possible coordinated nuclear attacks. Well, of course they never announced it. They should never announce it. It's a classified document. It shouldn't be out in the public sector. What's going on? There we go. Some hair over there. What the hell? What kind of country is this? Well, the United States economy under the Biden-Harris regime has seen a reduction in the number of jobs. While our population has soared with the invasion of criminal aliens dumped in our neighborhoods. I mean, I just saw, never once in my life have I seen anyone wearing an abaya in my grocery store. And I saw that twice this week. I also saw West Africans who are handicapped, who aren't from here, who've immigrated here. They're not young, productive workers. Why are we allowing handicapped people who are on disability to come to this country and we have to pay for it? What is that all about? They should be in Ghana or Nigeria or wherever they're from, not here. Now, is that xenophobic? No. That's practical is what that is. Why are we importing unproductive people? It's like the Germans in the 1980s paying Nicolae Ceausescu 12,000 Deutschmarks for exit visas for retired ethnic Germans from Transylvania, from Siebenbürgen. They came to Germany. They contributed nothing to society. They had no relations. Their family moved there 700, 800 years ago. They just happened to be ethnic Germans. So they came there and they were burdened the taxpayer. How did that help the social cohesion of Germany or the productivity of Germany? This doesn't help our country. This isn't humanitarian. This is bullshit. 818,000 fewer jobs. We should have produced 6 million more jobs in this time. The downward revision is the largest since the global financial crisis. The U.S. economy created just 818,000 fewer jobs. So we lost jobs. Wow. That's fewer than the Bureau of Labor Statistics falsely reported earlier this year. Wow. So we've created 2.9 million jobs over the past year. Average 242,000 jobs a month, when that number should be north of 600,000 in a healthy economy. Well, last night we had primaries in Florida, Alaska, and elsewhere, and there were some interesting races to talk about. First off, in the Florida primary races, Rick Scott overwhelmingly won 1.3 million votes with 95% of the votes in. 84% he is going back as the Senate candidate in November. And in the House race that's been most looked at, Matt Gaetz crushed his opponent. Matt Gaetz got 73% of the vote. This, of course, is a race that was important because Kevin McCarthy, the ousted rhino from California, who was the former Speaker of the House, who Matt Gaetz orchestrated his dumping earlier this year, he sought to seek revenge and wreak havoc on Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, despite lies about him and a teenager, despite lies by by Kevin McCarthy, won overwhelmingly. He won overwhelmingly. Unbelievable. 71,000 votes to 26,000 votes, 27,000 votes. Yep, 73% of the votes. He just, on the panhandle of Florida. There you go, on the panhandle. Won overwhelmingly. Yep. There you go. So other races around the country included, as I said, Wyoming, elsewhere. So let's look at Alaska. Alaska, not a lot going on here. Alaska's only one congressional representative from Alaska, and this is an open primary, and the Democrat and the Republican. Democrat 50%, two Republicans split the vote, 47%. Nick Begich. And then the state legislature, here are the races. Let's go on to Wyoming. Wyoming, John Barrasso won overwhelmingly in the Republican primary for the Senate seat, 68%. Democratic primary was uncontested. And in the House of Representatives, the Kyle Cameron ran uncontested, and Harriet Hageman won overwhelmingly. That's the seat that Liz Cheney used to occupy. She got 81% of the vote. Yep, so there you go. So those are the primary results from last night. Well, Ford has abandoned its electric vehicle rollout for an SUV. Canceled large electric SUV and expects to take a $1.9 billion charge and write-down. Wow. Canceling plans for a large electric sport utility vehicle and expects to take a $1.9 billion in related special charges and write-downs as automakers continue adjusting their EV plans because they're not profitable, except for Tesla, which is heavily subsidized. Donald Trump says he'd consider RFK Jr. as part of his administration. I'd love that endorsement, the former president remarked Tuesday. Former President Trump on Tuesday evening suggested he was open to giving an independent presidential candidate, Robert Kennedy, a position in his administration in return for an endorsement. Earlier this week, Kennedy's running mate, Nicole Shanahan, told a podcast that the campaign faces a number of hurdles and presented two options. One is they might drop out of the race and join forces with Trump, and the other is creating their own political party. Well, creating his own political party is not going to go very well. The Reform Party, remember that? Barack Obama says that Democrats' mutual respect should be their message this election. Really? Mutual respect from the Democrats? I'm sorry. The same Democrats that Barack Obama ran around and said in Pennsylvania, these people are so backward, they cling to their God and guns. You're damn right we cling to our God and guns. People of faith, patriotic Americans, not scumbags like, Mr. Chicago there. And then, of course, Hillary Clinton's basket full of deplorables, calling people who voted for Trump basket. They should have mutual respect. They have no respect for Americans. They have respect for patriots. Look how they treat people for trespassing. They put them in prison as felons. Look how they treat former presidents of this country. They have respect for this country. They piss on the flag. They lower the flag, stomp on it, piss on it, burn it, and raise Palestinian flags at Union Station in an act of insurrection. They burn our cities. They loot. These people have no respect. Mutual respect. Democrats don't know what respect is. That's a bygone era with these scumbags. A bygone era. Well, Timmy Waltz has got a challenge here. His uber liberal record is open to lots of attack. Of course, open attack. The man is a stolen honor fraud. 3 days after demon rats narrowly won control of Minnesota's House governor's mansion in 2022, he summoned party leaders to his formal office in the state's capital for an early morning huddle. He said, okay, let's go. You win elections for a reason. And that's when he started dismantling Minnesota. Well, little Timmy Waltz. Licensed for criminal alien invaders who don't bother carrying insurance and murder innocent Minnesotans and those who are foolish enough to drive through that state with their traffic accidents and alcohol. Well, this one was brought to my attention by Courtney McBride. He sent me a link in WhatsApp, and this isn't the same story, same news report, but it's the same story, about a gentleman in the Republican Party who got swatted. Now, let's be very clear about this. I have been never wavering on this. Swatting is a criminal offense. No one should ever do it. Just like doxing is a criminal offense. No one should ever do such things. The harm you could cause by lunatics attacking or killing or damaging, or the fear you put in someone by their home being invaded, should never happen. This man was swatted after he announced that he was voting for Kamala Harris. But the real story here is not that he got swatted. The real story here is that he's a leader in the Republican Party in Philadelphia. That's a joke in and of itself. Republicans, Philadelphia. Philadelphia, if there's a Republican, normally equals Rhino. And that's not a Republican. Republican name only. He said, apparently I ruffled some feathers. No, you're just a fraud. You're not a real Republican. It's midnight. Somebody's pounding on my door. What the heck could this be? Me and my wife at the top of the stairs. And I was like, I think we're being swatted. First off, he's pretty full of himself. Me and my wife. My wife and I, put yourself last, jerk off. Yep. There's no doubt in my mind I ruffled somebody's feathers somewhere, and I hope that perpetrators are caught. Well, I hope they're caught too. And he's also being kicked out as Republican committeeman because you can't do that. Yep. He said the committee felt this was a very straightforward case. You're very public, and continuous disparaging remarks about President Trump and endorsement of Kamala Harris is clear violation of the bylaws. Party chair Christian Nascimento wrote in a letter addressed to him, and he should be booted. He should stop claiming false honor. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the majority of Americans, we talked about marijuana use yesterday, the majority of Americans now turned against marijuana, but a majority of Americans also agree that Congress has no role trying to supersede its position as the legislative branch. Majority of U.S. adults oppose Congress enforcing ethics code on the Supreme Court. A new poll shows the majority of Americans say Congress enforcing a code of ethics in the Supreme Court could threaten the judiciary's independence. Of course it can. And the Congress has no right to do that. It's an illegitimate law. First Liberty Institute, a conservative Christian legal advocacy group, commissioned the survey, which was conducted by Mason-Dixon Polling. 57% said Congress having the power to create and enforce ethics in the high court would infringe on judicial independence. The poll also found that 59% opposed packing the court or adding justices to it. 52% said they oppose lifetime appointments. Well, that's interesting. Americans clearly understand the independence of the court and the separation of the three co-equal branches of government. And that's good to see. Wow, we dropped from 127 down to 97. Where'd y'all go? Anyway, so we did the news. Back to the shooting the breeze here. Tion says, I'm a lowly retail professional, 12 years, and taking emotional dumps from public individuals. Yeah, no doubt. People are abusive. Nexus of Thoughts back and says, what are my thoughts of Tammy Duckworth? An outrageous Democratic lunatic. That's my thoughts. USA private energy distribution company is, what's this? A private energy distribution company has authority to compulsory purchase millions of acres of land across several states to set up corridors to cope with high electricity use. Keith, that's not a helpful story. Who, where, and what are you talking about? Is this eminent domain? Eminent domain does exist, and that does happen, but I can't adjust what you're saying. Electric fields are not the answer. The electric fields are not the answer for anywhere. Like I said, my neighbor, his insurance bill was over $4,000 for a car because it was electric. $4,000. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? $4,000 a month. No, a year. No, that's a month. It's a month. Wait a second. That's the wrong amount. 4,000. I'm doing this backwards. I'm doing it the wrong way. That's $76,000 a month. And he got that more than half by changing providers. But can you imagine someone charging $4,000 a month for insurance for your car? That's crazy. Who would pay $4,000 a month from the payments? Maybe I got that story wrong. Any news from Home Affairs? Well, I reported Home Affairs yesterday. They reduced the backlog considerably, and they're going to get it gone by the end of the year is the plan. They've got approval to work overtime to do it. Hey, look, folks, it's Ronaldo Gos. Ronaldo Gos is here. Good to see you. I hope you're all doing well. Good this side. Just busy in Cape Town. Cape Town. Oh, my goodness. Ronaldo's hanging out in Cape Town. Well, have you gone to the Cape Town Fish Market? We talked about that yesterday. Anyway, yeah. So, hi, who asked if I lived in South Africa? You went to school with coons. It wasn't me, Richard. It wasn't me. I'm still fascinated to hear about your granddaughter. I miss whether she had blue or green eyes. I cannot firearm South Africa. What? Oh, yeah. What's this? What do you guys talk to? You guys are chatting with each other instead of listening to me. Do Russia use chemical weapons? Apparently, explosion at Russian chemical plant. Not to my knowledge, they've used it. Chantel, welcome to you. Battling with health. Yeah. Yeah, but Erica is like a Timex. She keeps licking, keeps on ticking. Chantel says, rather late than never. That's true. That is true. What's the deal with guy Jack Markowitz? Have you seen something about Jack Markowitz? We only saw him when the EFF protested in Brockenfell. Was it Brockenfell? Yeah, that was Brockenfell, yeah. Yeah, I haven't heard anything from him since. He comes from an uber wealthy family, hotel magnates, and is a privileged little shit. Yep. Who prevented a foreigner from competing in Miss America, Miss South Africa? Mothers raised them, mothers that have, exactly, Chris, mothers, everyone's responsible. It is horrible, isn't it, Charmaine? That woman beaten with a brick. Gayton is making many of the right noises. What has he actually achieved since ascending to Mr. Sport? Oh, that's what the excluding someone. Yep. Anyway, that's what that was about. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, where has Nexus of Thought been? We haven't seen Nexus of Thought in some time now. We're back to 111 people currently here. Thanks for tuning back in, folks. So, look, the Our Forgotten History or Forgotten History series that I'm coming up with, I came up with another topic that's fascinating that I want to cover. I want to cover the Nama revolt of in Southwest Africa in 1904 under Hendrik Witbooi, a septuagenarian who led a conflict. We beat Afis twice in my 5 years there, says Nexus. Okay, 82 and 85. Comrade Kamalas Hubby knocked up the maid. Where are you getting that from, Richard? I'm going to do a search on that. Oh, there it is. Nanny pregnant. Whoa, there it is. Oh, he didn't. It wasn't on Kamala. Cheated on his first wife. That has nothing to do with the election. Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, cheated on his first wife with daughter Ella's nanny, Najeen Naylor, and got her pregnant. Well, I hope that the child is more normal than his creepy-ass daughter. Wow. Cheated on his first wife with Nicklin, who's now 47. How old was she when he was knocking her up? Did not deny the story when approached by the Daily Mail. She would not comment. She said, I'm kind of freaked out right now. Okay. So how old is her daughter? Emhoff spokeswoman Liz Avesedo did not immediately reply to a request for comment. Emhoff, 59, and movie producer ex-wife Kirsten ended the 16-year marriage in 2009 when she discovered the affair. Their daughter Ella was 10 and son Cole was 15 at the time. Sources claim that after the affair, Naylor had to leave her job as a teacher at the Willows, an elite private elementary school in Culver City, California, where she had been teaching. Employment records obtained by Daily Mail show Naylor worked at the Willows in 2009. Current tuition at kindergarten. Okay, let's see else. A mother who sent her children to school before 2009 said she was aware of the affair, and though she was disgusted by Emhoff, she only had positive words for Naylor, who taught her children and nannied them on family vacations. Well, she's definitely gone downhill since then. She's still a nanny, apparently, based on this. She seems to be pushing a pram around. And then Emhoff's creepy daughter. Oof. Model. She's not a model. She's a creep. My goodness. Boy, it's just intruding in this woman's life. But yeah, here we go. That's the story you guys want to hear about. So let's bring that up on the screen. Here we go. Kamala Harris's husband Doug Emhoff cheated on his first wife. Like, I don't really care. This is like, National Enquirer stories. That's a picture of the lady with the bleach blonde hair on the right, and that's a picture of her now on the left. That's Emhoff with his ex-wife and their 2 kids. Both of them are kind of short. Son's short, and the creepy daughter, she looks like Wednesday, a bad Wednesday. There they are. There's the mother. That's that lady there with her kids when they're little. And there is the love affair when she was much younger. That's Miss Naylor. There she is now. Apparently she's still a nanny, it looks like. I don't imagine she's still having kids at 47. She's carting around somebody's kid, wearing flip-flops. And there's the creepy daughter. Oof, man. And there's Miss Naylor again. Anyway, well, that's an interesting story, but there's nothing that has nothing to do with the kid. Econo's back. The Spectre Index on X. Trump's chance of winning are 51, while she got 49. Did you see Big Mike last night? I did not Nexus. Did not watch any of it last night. I have not watched any of the Democratic National Convention. It's just been a passel of lies and insults and just, we must, show mutual respect. What mutual respect? These are the people who insult us every day. Flyover nation, gods and guns, clinging to their gods and guns, a basket of deplorables. They have no respect for Americans. They hate Americans. The only people they like are people that are people who too cowardly to serve in uniform, too lazy to work in the economy. That's who they like. All right, what's going on over here? So we got Ronaldo's comment that Chris was saying hello. James Bowie says hello. Went to school with Musk at Pretoria Boys High School, Nexus says. Okay. Freedom. That other thing. Comrade Camille's hubby. Okay, got that already. We beat Offie's. Nexus played against Menlo Park. Well, you guys know each other. That's crazy. Okay. Battery flat. Oh, Charmaine. You just got here, didn't you? I went back to the gym really quick, but I'm back now. Okay, Michelle, glad to see you back there. You really nailed her, says George. Anyway, yeah, so it's news to me. That's salacious. That has nothing to do with the campaign. That has nothing to do with policy. It has nothing to do with things. Just like, Kamala Harris's. Now, look, the whole story about Kamala Harris's racial identity and her ethnicity is a story. But it's a story because she made it a story. She lied about who she is. She misrepresented who she is. She made claims, it's like Barack Obama. When he goes to Kansas, he's white because his grandfather was at Normandy. When he goes to Chicago, he's down with the boys, down with the brothers, yeah. Yeah, that's the only reason that her ethnicity matters. But Trump should stay away from that. That's a stupid argument. I already told you what he should have said. Who the heck is Trevor Loudon? Trevor Loudon. Trevor Loudon. New Zealand author. Is that who you're talking about? Don't know who he is. Oh, he's got 3 self-published books. Kiwi. Okay, well, do you know him? Do you watch his program? Apparently he's on YouTube. Tell him he should come on my program. Tell him he should come in here. Yeah, it's a trap every time if Trump will mention a race. You should just stay away from it. I already said what should have happened. At that Black Journalist Association, which is racist. I mean, there's no White Journalist Association. Can't have that. But why do you need a Black Journalist Association? So at the Black Journalist Association, which Harris Faulkner went to from Fox, but at the Black Journalist Association, if he'd asked that question, this would have been my response. Excuse me, how is that germane to my appearance here? I didn't come here to talk about someone's identity. If you want to talk about Kamala Harris's racial identity, I suggest you talk to Kamala Harris or the U.S. Census Bureau. I came here to talk about policy. Would you like to talk about her position on fracking? Because she's for it, but she was against it. We call that flip-flopping. I'd like to talk about policy, about how her actions and her boss's actions have destroyed global security in Myanmar, Ukraine, Gaza, Mozambique, Burkina Faso. That's what I'd like to talk about. I'd like to talk about how her boss has submitted a budget this year with a $2 trillion deficit, and she's part of it. Let's talk about how she was appointed to be responsible for the border. I'm going to call her a border czar or call her whatever you want. She went to the border one time. She accomplished nothing in slowing down the invasion of this country. In fact, she facilitated it through her neglect. I want to talk about policy. You want to talk about who she is or what she's all about? That's not for me. That's for the Census Bureau and for Kamala Harris to define. That's what he should have said. Opinion of the Obamas, no, they're just scumbag. Look, what we have to do now, ladies and gentlemen, and no one's talking about this, but we must now ensure the loss, the defeat, to prevent the 4th term of Barack Hussein Obama. 2 terms, then Biden's term, and then a Kamala Harris term. The puppet master pulling the strings, the puppeteer. Barack Obama shall not get a 4th administration. We will not allow that. You start advising these politicians, it feels like they all got dumber. Yeah, they have gotten dumber, especially South African politicians. Yep. Maybe the borders are intentionally open for these companies and business to have cheap labor. Well, yeah. Open Borders Incorporated. Who's funding America's destruction? Michelle Malkin. This is because of this book, she was blacklisted. Because of this book, Michelle Malkin was sent out to purgatory and no longer appears on Fox News because they're complicit in this as well as thousands of big corporate multinationals. So, follow the money, find the truth. That's Michelle Malkin's journalistic mantra. In her stunning new book, not new anymore, Open Borders, she puts it to work with a shocking, comprehensive expose of who's behind our immigration crisis. Now, this was published. You're going to love this. Open Borders Incorporated was published by Regine, which is a conservative publishing house, in 2019. Okay? 2019. In the name of compassion, but driven by financial profit, globalist elites, Silicon Valley, and the radical left are conspiring to undo the rule of law, subvert our homeland security, and shut down free speech, and make gobs of money off the backs of illegal aliens, refugees, and low-wage guest workers. Wow. 2019, she wrote this. 5 years ago. Of course, this could have been written 10 years before that, but anyway. Politicians want cheap votes or cheap labor. Church leaders want pew fillers and collection plate donors. Social justice militants working with corporate America want to silence free speech they deem hateful while raking in tens of millions of dollars promoting mass, uncontrolled immigration, both legal and illegal. Malkin names names, from Pope Francis to George Clooney, from George Soros to the Koch brothers, from Jack Dorsey to Tim Cook to Mark Zuckerberg. Enlightening as it is infuriating, Open Borders reveals the powerful forces working to erase America. Michelle Malkin is a mother, wife, blogger, conservative, syndicated columnist, and best-selling author of 6 books. She founded internet startups Hot Air and Twitchy. Malkin has received numerous awards for investigative journalism. Yep, anyway, so yeah. Michelle Malkin. And she's a Filipina. A Filipina. Now, she's not an immigrant, but her parents were immigrants. She's from Pennsylvania. Michelle Malkin. This is not a Philippine name. She married a Eastern European American. Open borders. Who's funding America's destruction? 2019. 2019. Talk about prescient. Talk about timely. Talk about it on the money. I wish I had been doing that in 2019 instead of finishing my last year in the Army and writing a book like that. Well, Keith, there could be a job for me in speech writing. You guys have seen some of my things I've written, haven't you? Yeah. Thought Kamala Harris just outsources her marketing to AI in the cloud. Probably. Yeah, sometimes you just have to be unburdened by what has been.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been. What?
See, the thing is, folks, being black in America is a very specific thing. All right? It's like being colored in South Africa. Trevor Noah is not colored. Kamala Harris is not black. She's not black. She's not African American. There's just no African American in her whatsoever. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Now, that's not for Donald Trump to talk about, but you and I can talk about that all day long. How will they react to a Harris victory? Well, the markets will crash. Markets will crash. People will take their money out of the markets. Then we'll trust it. And we'll be on the road to perdition. Yep. Now, the reason the markets haven't gone down so far with the so-called rise of Harris in the polls is, as I read last week, a lot of people in C-suites, that's the corporate executive suites, running these major corporations on Wall Street and around the country, aren't really buying into the polls. They don't believe the polls because, like me, they're watching the polls in the battleground states, and they see that Trump is still ahead. So they also think that this honeymoon period will wear off. She'll likely get a bump out of the convention, and she'll be ahead of Trump by 3 to 5, maybe even 7 points. And they'll go, look at how she's there. She's out. The race is over. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Every candidate gets a 1 to 3 or sometimes 5-point bump coming out of their convention. That's normal. And it's usually gone within 10 days to 2 weeks. So 2 weeks after the convention closes, where the polls stand then matters, not where the polls are on Friday. A repeat of January 6th. What do you mean by a repeat? Got to be very clear about that. A repeat of January 6th. You mean 500,000 people showing up and demanding their right to redress from a government peacefully assembling in front of the Congress? Is that what you're talking about? First Amendment right? That's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Is that what you mean? You got to be very clear about what you're asking me, because I need to understand what you're asking me. Okay, so, yep. But you have to understand that January 6th wasn't unorganized. People just went there on their own. There were some people who organized things, like organized buses of local people to go down there, like-minded people, and the Proud Boys organized to protect law enforcement and went to prison for it. Yep. Will we see people protest? Yeah, we will. We will. Either way it goes. When Donald Trump wins in November, the leftists will try to torch Washington, D.C. They'll try to disrupt the inauguration. They'll beat up tourists like they did last time in 2016. We'll see. It doesn't matter who wins in November or who steals the election in November. It doesn't matter. There'll be something. There are enough lunatics in this country that have caused so much trouble and brought us to this point. Yep. Beryllium copper. You want the beryllium sphere? Well, Valerie, nobody understands what she's trying to say, and she's a chameleon. Yep. Anyway. All right, so I'm just reading what the comments are there, so what you guys are saying. What executive orders do you expect the Democrats will knock up for Kamala? Try and redeem the presidency before the election. You mean if Joe goes before the election? We've got a lot of time before the election, folks. It's August. It's almost September. We got September and October. That's it. And then we have the election. Yep. If Trump wins, I see a repeat of the Summer of Love. I don't. I see an attempt at the repeat of Summer of Love, but I expect to see federal officials and local and state officials shut it down. the carnage that was allowed last time was because a lot of Americans are stupid. They actually believed the lies about American history and felt like they were supposed to let it happen. There are a lot of people in law enforcement that are never going to let that happen this time. It's an unlawful order for your mayor to tell you to stand down in the face of violence when your job is to protect property and civilians. That's unlawful. Yep, I don't see a repeat of the Summer of Love. I do not. I do not. One thing I will caution you with is if this fraudulent Bolivian judge, why is a Bolivian a judge in this country? Why is a naturalized citizen a judge? That's crap. That's crap. This Bolivian judge in New York, Marchand, if he tries to incarcerate Donald Trump over a non-existent criminal conviction for non-existent authority on an expired misdemeanor and a federal law that he has no jurisdiction over, there will be trouble. I'll tell you that right now. That's not a hard prediction. If they try to put Donald Trump in prison or jail or fine him an outrageous amount of money, it's going to be over. There will be trouble. Okay, so... So this was published a day ago. Suspended racist Ronaldo Jose is back in Parliament after his racist rant. Rena of Leeway Morema reports on racist Ronaldo Jose being in Parliament despite petition signed for his removal. Petitioner's removal comes from a video of him saying racist, derogatory slur words towards black people started making the rounds, which sparked an outrage. These people are stupid, man. These people are stupid. I mean, they do not realize that they set themselves up for a criminal injuria lawsuit. Do they not realize they set themselves... I mean, how stupid. How desperate. And by the way, Ronaldo didn't just get back to Parliament. That wasn't public knowledge, but he's been back at Parliament for a while. So, wow. Suspended racist Ronaldo is back in Parliament after his racist rant. Wow. Another channel that needs... She has 1.77 million subscribers. Where's this clown from? Let me take a look and see. African diaspora. Never heard of this. Your source for international commentary. Speaker minds to stand against propaganda. Where you stand against propaganda. They just propagated propaganda. Wow. Are they that stupid to get punked? I don't even know what this channel is. How long has it been around? Since 2012. Been around a while. And it's based in the United States here. Well, the criminal injury charge isn't going to apply to her here. Wow. 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 Jose's a reflection of South Africa bringing back apartheid. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh, here's right. The Mzungus cover for each other. Wow. It's my dream that the black people make our own world. Well, that sounds very inclusionary. Racism by her from the middle is insane. Yeah, no, I will watch this video and I'll probably wind up commenting on it. Factually wrong. But it's not going to matter. My channel is not really covered. So anyway, so I won't get that many views on it and influence that many people. But wow, unbelievable. I mean, look, I just reported on what the Ethiopians are doing, and after the thing being up for 3 hours, it has 300 views. 300 views. Wow. That's actually a newsworthy story, that the Ethiopian government banning petrol and diesel vehicles for diplomats. Where did they get off doing that? No, she's not South African. Yeah, it's anti-white propaganda. What do you take of the boom and rattle down under Perth? Lots of people saying it was a meteor. I didn't see that, Robert Franklin Moore. What happened in Perth? It's news to me, brother. News to me. Been busy online here with this broadcast. Perth explosion today. Here we go. The mail just came. Singapore F-15s flew over Perth. That's what it was. It was F-15s. Yep. Singaporean F-15s.
I can imagine what can be.
Sorry, wrong one. We don't need to see her again. Singapore, that's not the right thing either. Come on, I'm looking for that's the screen I was looking for. Singaporean F-15s capable of sonic boom flying over Perth. Explosion felt in southern suburbs. Massive boom was heard and felt by thousands across a large area on Wednesday. They were at a loss to explain it. However, it was F-15s. So why are F-15s flying over these areas? The Royal Australian Air Force has been hosting Singaporean aircraft in their airspace over Perth's metropolitan area. They were told the Australian Defence Force does not believe the issue was related to any of the assets or current activities. Well, apparently it was. Yep. The only aircraft operating that were capable of producing sonic boom. The stretch of airspace running off the coast was active for military operations at the time the boom was heard. Yep, it was a sonic boom. Yep. And there's two T-38s in an example in a colorized photo showing how they break the sound barrier. Supersonic air travel faster than the speed of sound, which is 1,223 kilometers per hour in the air at sea level. Shock waves produced by it merge and make the sound. And there's the area where it's felt, in Perth. So that's what it was. It was F-15s. F-15s. Yep. Tourism and Auditor General. Tourism. I don't know about that one. Anyway, yeah, so, wow, I'll have to check that. I have to check that from the middle on. Well, it's only a 7-minute thing, so it won't take me long to watch it. Wow. You were outside the imprint, Chris. The algorithm is like, yes, that's right. I'm not part and parcel of the whole scam on the world. And so I'm not in the algorithm. I'm not part of it. Anyway, folks, yeah, so good to see Ronaldo popping on here. And how you all doing? So, what's the last thing? The Boca Enriquez one. Yeah, no, Garrett, we talked about that. I covered that. It was, by the way, once again, I want to thank all the people that went to Rugby Ascendant. Epic weekend. We had over 50,000 views on Saturday. 50,000. To be fair, we had 3 games, but I mean, I've had 5 games on a day before. I never got that high. 50,000. 38,000 on the day, well, 42 in total were for the Springbok game, but 38,000 that day. The rest came the next day. 38,000 and then 12,000 for the other 3 games. That was incredible. We had over 500 people watching it live at one time. So no, it was 830 some people watching the stream live at one time for a period of time. That was incredible. We not only achieved that, 50,000 in a single day, which is the first time ever on the channel, on the Rugby channel. And then we also went over 5,000 subscribers that day. That was incredible. That took a while to do. And then for the week, a few days prior, we exceeded 1 million views on the channel. That was pretty cool. Press Ombudsman outcome expected this week. Hold thumbs, everyone. Yep. Okay, well, let's see. Okay, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, so this is another group of people who have been punked by taking altered video. Yep. Anyway, it's why are some people just so dementedly racist? Their entire worldview is that another group of people are racist. I don't look at black people or brown people and go, "Wow, they're inherently racist because they're black or brown." And I still don't say the same thing about white folks. I've seen racists before. Fortunately, there aren't many of them. There are a lot of people who are bigots. A lot of bigotry going on in the world. But there are some real serious people. Now, look, I look at Julius Malema. I don't think he's racist. You're probably like, you're crazy. No. I think he's an opportunist. I think Julius Malema uses the tools at his disposal to advance his personal agenda and his personal wealth and self-aggrandizement. That's what that's all about. I don't really think he actually believes any of the garbage he spews. Yep. Kamala's playing the game. We'll see. Garrett saying the boom was a joke. Why? What do you get? This is actual news stations reporting it. You're saying that ABC News, Australian Broadcasting Corporation, is telling a joke? I missed that somehow. Somehow I missed that. I'm not really sure what happened there. Anyway, while I'd love to stay and chat all day, I know that people got things to do. It's getting late in South Africa. It is currently, let's see, we've got 2 o'clock here to make it 8 o'clock. Actually, this is the time that people tune in. It used to be coming. Icona was late today. You were. People were asking where you were. There was a couple questions about where's Icona. People thought maybe you ran away. No, it's people are welcome to be late. They're welcome to come at any time. Just appreciate people watching the content. and also the kind thoughts that some people said earlier about my analysis and why they watch my program. It's a shame that it's kind of hidden from the world, but maybe one day it won't be. We'll see. Anyway. But I don't want to keep people longer than need to be here. Plus, I need to watch the video about Ronaldo that's published by this Diaspora site. And if I respond to them, they'll probably attack me. And, of course, they won't bother doing any research on who I am or what I'm about, which is typical. So, anyway. All right, folks. Catch you later. Cheers. Thanks for being here. Be safe out there. And good luck on that press ombudsman thing. Because who knows how it'll go. Just because you're right doesn't mean you come out innocent. That's that's the bottom line in this world. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Going to my mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I headed? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. Last night I was on television. I was on a telephone, rapidly rising, and with I don't know. COVID has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's lives reflected in the NHEI. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him in we're going to seize the ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. NATO's purpose is to defend against aggression. Let me make near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway. My mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I headed? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. I don't think as the idea that political coverage. I want to thank and recognize Dr. John Kingersong. That song. I can't get this to function at all. My mind's going blank now. What's happening? What, I can't remember. I'm gonna lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the hell are we? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I headed? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea.